What is up, Mega Dudes? Today we are going to try and take apart this 6-liter turbo, a turbo off of a 6-liter diesel. See how far we get. I think what we're going to do is we're going to take off this outer housing and then the VGT solenoid and inspect those things. This one got pulled off the truck because, well, the repair shop said this turbo is garbage. That's why. If it's not completely fucked, we'll try and see if we can rebuild it. If we look in here, it's a tiny bit shaft play. So if we did want to, I'd have to see if we can find those bearings and see, knowing how popular these trucks are. I think that's something that we could do. Alright, so this outer casing is a 5/16 12 point. Try and break all this free. I'm excited to see what the inside of this looks like. If for no other reason out of curiosity. That one was real loose. There we go. That looks pretty clean. And that oil, because the last month or so it's just been sort of getting moved around in a box. Well, it's really nice. I don't know if that's anything to make any deciding factors off of. Probably not. Probably means the air filter was doing its job. Just make sure I got it in the shot. Ooh, fancy turbo parts. This isn't an instructional video, by the way. I barely have any idea what I'm doing. I've never even pulled apart a turbo before. Of any kind. Oh, this is your VGT solenoid. That is an 8mm 12 point. So that guy. Try my best to remember where all this shit goes. To be honest, I'm not that deep, so I'm not terribly worried about that yet. Okay, that guy is being a pain. Let's see if I can wedge something in here. Try and get it to walk out. There we go. Is that even in frame? Okay. There's our VGT solenoid. When I pull this out of here, what am I looking for? I'm looking for metal debris right here in that filter. I don't really see anything. Actually, it looks pretty clean. Dope. From my knowing next to nothing about any of these systems, except for what I've read on the internet, passes my inspection. We're going to take off this 11mm. Pop this clamp off. Just gonna leave that on the end there. There we go. It's freed up. I have no idea what I'm doing. Try to get some more space out there. There we go. Alright. Oh, now the scary part. For me, anyway. Need to chisel the hot side. Oh, will still be on camera so I can go back and rewatch everything I messed up. Oh, it's so scary. Just me being in my head. But I also know I'm not a diesel mechanic. There's probably 1,000 guys out there. You're like, oh yeah, I used to do this every day. I remember when I was working in a shop at '04. Or fucking recall or something on all the blah blah blah. These trucks are garbage. Yes. You see it? Woo! It's working. Watch me destroy the rest of this chisel. There's already a bunch of notches in the front of it. Anyway, some misuse. Hey, let's go. These guys have bits that actuate to determine how much flow I guess the turbo's making. And remember how earlier I said that there was a worm gear inside of this part? Well, that actuates this bit, and that's supposed to walk back and forth. And I think this is supposed to move freely. And that C's down there. Okay. So that's... How do I get that off of there without destroying it? I guess I know that this is called a unison. I'm assuming it's supposed to move all these little guys in unison, and that they sometimes crack up here, which doesn't look like ours is. Looks. I break it, I guess. Oh! Hey, lucky me. That is on there, though. You can see where it was like scraping. Okay. Whoa! Don't mind me, just dropping everything down. Looks like a little worm here. It's actuated by oil pressure is working, and it's making that slurping noise and dumping oil everywhere because it's pushing the oil that was trapped in there. What I'm trying to do at the moment is get those little shoulders on there to line up. Ha! Ha! Alright, so this handle goes back and forth in this slot, and then that moves these guys like that, and that determines, it changes the amount of exhaust gases that get picked up from your exhaust, which spins turbo faster or slower to create different amounts of PSI to make it feel like you don't really have a turbo. God, that's so neat. I guess I'll have to read and see if there's like an acceptable amount movement. Oh, this lines up with this. So there's only one way that can sit on there. That's good. I'm gonna hastily slap all of this back together, and then see how much a turbo rebuild costs, and do some more research. Alright, so where do we leave off? It's been a while since I've recorded anything, so while I have the GoPro charging, I pulled all of the little bits of the exhaust housing. Over here I've got the turbo this side disassembled. I took the time and cleaned up the inside of this off camera because I made a damn mess of it. Now we need to clean up this inner housing, and I got to looking at this guy. I don't know if I made a mention of it the last time I recorded or not, but if you look closely, well, both these, you might just notice that the top one is oblong at the bottom and this one is straight. And also, I couldn't buy these fucking anywhere. I had to order it off of Amazon, so we know that it's made out of 100% Chinesium, but that's okay. Nah, I don't know. Might not be fair to call it that. Might just be... well, if it was aluminum, I'd just say it's recycled soda cans or something, but even that might be giving it too much credit. Either way, I'm going to stuff it inside this turbo. We're going to put it on a truck, hopefully, here in the relative near future. And we're going to see how it does. To be honest, it looks exactly the same as the other one, except for undamaged. So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the Scotch pad, this wire wheel, and I'm going to go through the inside of this guy, if I could get out of the light, and clean up all of this rough gridded area that all of these pieces move on. And then probably clean up those guys and then put it all back together. And then we'll see if we shelf it or if we put it on the truck to pull out the one that's on there, which currently isn't giving me problems, and rebuild that one with some new, questionably better parts from an online source. I've been reading a lot of forums, and a lot of people have been talking about rebuild kits from KC Turbos. Apparently they're reputable. So maybe I'll get like one of them and we'll see how it performs. That'll give me a reason to like actually test this unison ring and rebuild a different turbo a little bit more thoroughly. I was like, I'm not pulling that one apart. Also, on the cold side, I did find that it does have a gasket and it does look like it's in good shape. And the oil that I said I was concerned about in the exhaust housing side, I found out the oil seal inside of these turbos is like a piston ring. And if you let it set in a box for too long, whatever oil is trapped inside the turbo, like all of it that came out when I was originally disassembling it, it can slowly seep through that piston ring like oil ring, and then it can get that side oily. this part and this notch right here. Notch goes here, arm goes in here because it actuates this. I'm gonna try and line that up, set it back down here, and try and get this clamp on here to face the right direction. I think that's the correct way. And there's a little viewing area through there. Try and get it lined up. Hopefully a little bit easier. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, before I had an EBP video because I thought that was the problem for this truck, and it did seem to fix it for about a week. And then it all sort of came apart on me. It became very clear very fast that the turbo was the problem and not the EBP, so by the time this video comes out, I'll probably have taken that video down, even though it's got okay information in it. But it wasn't the solution to my problem. And that's probably problematic for the internet. Well, at least for me. I'd hate to. There's plenty of videos out there that say, oh, this will fix your problem, blah, 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 and it doesn't do anything. And I don't want to make a bunch of that content. It doesn't help anybody, and it sort of defeats the purpose. I guess there are tons and tons and tons of videos for people doing turbos, and what I'm doing right now, I guess the only real purpose of this video is to show that anybody can do this with relatively basic hand tools and hopefully be moderately successful. But right now I'm just sort of like trying to get that hole in the unison ring and this arm lined up. Hey, did I get it? That side's certainly sitting down lower. Did I not get the... Ha! There it goes. So I got the arm that goes into the unison ring lined up, and it wasn't perfectly fitting on that notch. I got it really cleaned up as the best I could. So just turning it, let it drop right into place. And when we take a little bit closer look at it here, you can see that it's not sitting perfectly flush. From what I've read and seen, it looks like these are kind of friction fit. You take a dead blow or a rubber mallet. In this case, I've got like a machinist brass hammer. I'm gonna just tap it down. Use the brass because it'll dent before the metal does, so nothing gets damaged on the turbo side. You can see all the dents on that brass hammer. I'm just gonna work our way around. Just tap it home until we feel good about it. Admittedly, this might not be the best tool because it doesn't have a ton of mass. I think it's doing a pretty alright job. I just don't want to be dependent on the V-band to cinch down that gap because it will not do it. But I think we're pretty much there. I'll give it a couple more taps. And that's pretty much that. This is probably the point where I realize that I put my clamp on in the wrong position. It can't matter that much. I guess we'll find out when I go to put this on something, but I think that pretty much wraps this. Alright, well, it looks like it's time to rip out a perfectly good working turbo, to the best of my knowledge, to put in a very questionable turbo, to see if my fixes did anything at all. See if it all actually works. I think it will. Alright, gentlemen and ladies, if there happens to be any, I have a quick question. Is that V-band supposed to be fucking welded? If I could just get all of this light out of the way. Grab a flashlight. Is that V-band supposed to be fucking welded to the downpipe? Because I don't think so. I guess that's gonna make this interesting. Alright, where were we? Oh yeah, I spent a bunch of time trying to fight that V-band off of the up pipe as much as I could. I've got it loose. I don't think it's all the way off. I'm transitioning over now to pulling the turbo pedestal bolts, and hopefully with that I can get enough wiggle room to get it actually free from both the up pipe and down pipe. already cracked this one loose. So, I guess it's cheating because I didn't do it on camera, but oh well. There's one on this side, there's one on the opposing side, and there's one on the back. I haven't figured out quite yet how I'm gonna get to the other two. One down. I think my hardware kit that I bought came with new turbo bolts, so I can put less rusty ones in. That's pretty neat. Hopefully they're the exact same, otherwise it's going to be a bad day for me. Let's pull number 2. I know. I need to figure out where the fuck this back one is. Oh, I found it. Oh, that's gonna be a nightmare. Alright, well, that was a whole journey. It was just a lot of me cussing, really. So, I completely rounded the bolt on the back side of the turbo. And then what I did is I remembered that I had a bolt extractor set from Harbor Freight. And so what I did is I got a reducer, so that way I could go from 1/2 inch to 3/8, and then shoved it onto this, and then stuck the extractor guy on there. And right now that's horribly stuck in there, so that's just the way it's going to live for now. But I put it on there, and I put my pry bar up against the top of that firewall, and I pressed it down onto there, and then I was like, well, if I'm going to round it, I might as well go all the way, and I just went for it, and it came loose, so I can keep moving forward instead of putting it all back together and calling it a bust. I'm going to fight those clamps for the exhaust side, because one of them's welded, and the other side came 3/4 of the way loose. And this is going to be a nightmare. But before I do that, I'm going to take a breather, and I'll show you the extractor bit set. These guys are designed to bite into it as you go to like loosen, so it gets like tighter and tighter on there as you turn it. And to be honest, I've never ever used one of these to any amount of success before, and I've owned this set, or I've had this set for 4 years. I've never touched it because in every other situation it's been much easier just to pull out like a die grinder or a Dremel and put a little cutting bit on it and just cut the bolts that I needed to. And I did try to fit a Dremel back there, and it did not fit. So yeah, call that a win. I'm gonna pause, take a break, and see where we get. All right, so I'm an idiot, but so that little welded tab is just to help hold it on in place to get it clamped down, which makes sense. I pulled the V-band off that by wedging a pry bar underneath it and lifting up, and then it just completely came. This up pipe back here, if I could get a light on it, it'd probably help. This up pipe back here was giving me a bunch of trouble. I managed to loosen the hardware on it, which you almost need a corded ratchet just to get enough room in there, or like an air ratchet, just to loosen it. I'm gonna try and flip it around the other way when I get it out. But my biggest issue was getting the bottom of the V-band to come free. And what I ended up doing is just wedging a fucking screwdriver underneath it and tapping the back of it with a hammer, and it came loose. But that was only after about a half hour, 45 minutes of trying different ways to dick with it in that small space, but it worked out. So now, I'm gonna guys set back up on the tripod, and we're going to try and free this turbo from this engine bay. I keyword is try. Tripod will go any taller. Probably try to work it out towards like the alternator. First, I'm gonna wedge underneath it with this pry bar and see if we can't get it just loose. Let's fucking go. Oh, this thing's been kicking the shit out of me. I'm not even gonna lie. I want the experience, so I'm gonna do it. All right, it's loose. Guess we'll just try and manhandle it from here. Alright, apparently you just gotta wiggle it a bunch just to get it off of that drain tube. Now we need to tuck some of this wiring back, try not to damage it. Let's try. Okay. Hey. Oh. We're so close. We're so close. Just I need more space. Working all wadded up. Got you, you motherfucker. You're mine. Oh, yes. Let's go. All right, let me find something to set this down. And see about putting this other one on. Okay, so taking a look down in here. Got a flashlight for everything, so there's no room anywhere in here. This valley tray is dirty as fuck. And I don't see any. Like, it's not leaking from like up there. Otherwise there'd be a lot more. And this guy over here is our turbo drain. And the bottom gasket didn't look super amazing. It also came out really, really easily. I don't know if that's just because everything else fought me within an inch of my life to get to this point, but that felt too easy. And I've got a gasket set for reinstalling this, so I'm gonna put a fresh gasket on this side, gasket on this side. I'm gonna put this back in here, and that just sort of slots in down underneath here. Hopefully you can see that, maybe, maybe not. That just O-ring presses back in there, and that's where I'm assuming that this is coming from, because I don't have a crazy leak, like it's from the high pressure or anything, but who knows. When I stopped to do a little bit of research earlier, I also found a guy talking about how when he reinstalls his turbo, he loosens up the turbo pedestal, those two bolts, because it helps him reline up the up pipe. And apparently this is the hardest thing, not pulling out the screw back here or fighting anything else. This is solid and it does not move at all. Okay. Unlike that, that's got some play in it. So I'm gonna take this turbo pedestal loose and try and dump that other turbo in here and try and get it all connected and throw some fresh gaskets on some stuff, and we'll see if our repair to the replacement unison ring and a fresh clean on that turbo I had on the bench did anything. And if it works, awesome. Then I can go back in here and order up a full rebuild kit for this one, because this one should be the original one to the truck. So I'll put, like, if you look closely inside here, some of the blades look lightly damaged, which that's not super cool. There's a little bit of scoring right there on the inside of the turbo inlet from the bearings. A little loose apparently. So new blades, new bearings, everything. It'll probably be like a year from now because all the stuff is like $500 and I got a life to live. So hopefully we dump that other one in there and it just works. Then I can sit on this one, save up some funds, properly rebuild this one, and then I'll take that one back out of that truck and then put this one back in, freshly rebuilt properly, and then I'll have that one on a shelf. Maybe that'll get a rebuild, maybe it won't. The truck that came off of only has like 120,000 miles on it. So my hopes are really good that like the scale was really bad inside of there. So I don't know exactly what causes that, but yeah. Once again, I'm just rambling because I feel like I'm not sharing enough information or I'm not doing things right, because I'm not. And because, oh my god, I'm not excited. I guess that's why I'm rambling. So I'm gonna throw this into a time lapse. I'll let you guys know if I run into any major problems. Yeah. Alright, so it took me a little bit to figure out how the turbo pedestal mounts, but I was wrong. It made not a ton of sense for there to be 2 bolts. 4. So there's one right here. There's one a little bit further up. There's one right here in this valley. And then there's one right here. Take those loose. And you got some play. Hopefully that'll be enough. And hopefully I can figure out how to properly tighten those back up once I have the turbo sitting on there, because as of this moment, I took that advice and I did it somewhat blindly. So I might put the turbo in and then I might have to pull it back out because I can't tighten those bolts. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. All right, time for time lapse. So, I finally get the turbo in. I'm like, dope. I just need to go in and check that feed. See that yellow? You're not supposed to be able to see that. It's a fucking gasket. That motherfucker. I need to figure out how to push that in. I don't want to take the turbo back out, but if I got to, I got to. Fuck. Okay. So, if we look down here, am I looking in the right place? Yeah, right down there. And we're yellow. I got it. And then we can look at our up pipe. It's basically planted. We can look at this side and our down tube right where I want it. Okay. What I did is I took this pry bar and I wedged it in there, and what it needed to do is I needed to lift the turbo ever so slightly and then push it forward, and then everything fell perfectly into place. I'm gonna be scared as hell to do this again because I'm never gonna get this fucking lucky. First with that bolt extractor, and then getting that lined up. Hopefully, God, I'm crossing my fingers I didn't fuck up that O-ring. I guess. Oh, I guess we'll find out. All right, I need to charge this GoPro, so I'm gonna put this back together. And you can guess which bolt isn't going back in. The one behind the turbo. Because fuck it. If there's consequences, I'll deal with them. But I'm not pulling that fucking bolt out again. Alright. Hopefully, by the time all this is wrapped up, I'll have this all together. We can go and run that turbo. Let's see if we manage to do something that's worth it. Or if I've spent several hours achieving absolutely nothing and potentially fucking up O-rings, which I'll have to order again. God, the stakes are high this time. Alright, so I got my all of the assembly put back together, and then I fought a crazy boost leak because my up pipe came loose because I didn't tighten it well enough, and I had a bad angle on it, so on and so forth. I got that put back together. She's making plenty of boost, and I don't know if there's a difference between 05 and 04 Power Stroke turbocharger. I think there's a slight difference, but nothing noticeable. It could just be me being happy about the fact that I am able to just do it, and I actually managed. I don't know. This is a big project for me, and it felt really scary, so it feels really nice to know that my efforts weren't completely wasted. So it's not modified in any real way, and I would say that my repairs made a success. My VGT monitor isn't getting stuck at 85 or 15. I'm going through my full cycle. I'm not getting any turbo flutter like I was before with this turbo in the other truck, and gotta say, I'm pretty fucking happy about it. Well, I think that's going to be the end for me on this one. We'll see if I can get some turbo parts for the other one, rebuild that one. And we'll see if this one like holds on, or if I run into any crazy problems, or like it just starts fucking up again real hard like it was before, then I'll make a video about it. But so far, so good. I'll talk to you next time, my good dudes. There's no good place to set this down, and I don't have enough paper towels.